Hello, hello! Welcome back to Brenda's Books. This season I will be narrating for you the future war love story, Sara's War, which you can also buy a printed copy of and a digital copy at Barnes & Noble and on Amazon. Anyway, today we are on Chapter 3. Here we go.
Chapter 3, Mr. Evil. As Lexi and I are finishing our lunch, my stomach churns. And not only because of the nasty, slimy food. From a distance, I see that repulsive man from the airplane swaggering his way in through the back door. He's in my direct line of sight, and our eyes meet. His eyes look bloodshot and swollen, a result of my pepper spray, no doubt. He grins that despicable grin again. But this time, he looks angry at me as well. I glare back as hard as I can. Despite my obvious abhorrence, he struts right up to our bench and bumps me in the shoulder. "Well, hello, ladies. What can I do you for?" He lets out a low cackle. Lexi glances at me and we both exchange looks of disgust. "Looks like my time is up," Lexi says to me. "I'll see you around, Sara." Without a moment's delay, Lexi glides out the back door. "It looks like we have time to talk," says Mr. Slimeball. I get up without saying a word and throw the liquid remains of my green bean casserole in the nearest trash can and walk away, not really knowing where I am headed. I notice several dirty, sticky tables as I saunter across the mess hall, and it seems to heighten the awful feeling I have from that dirty man behind me. "Maybe another time," he calls after me. "How about in your room?" I continue walking without looking back. In my peripheral vision, I can see random eyes glancing back and forth between us, and then quickly looking away when I stare back. "All right, erase him," I say to myself. "Where is the meeting hall?" After finally finding an exit, I find myself in an empty corridor. Immediately, I feel cleaner. Just being in this dull-carpeted hallway, where at least the dirt is hidden, I take a deep breath and inhale the odorless air. Luck must be with me today. There in front of me stands a tall easel with a very wide and colorful map of the building resting on it, probably for newcomers like me. I spot the meeting hall right away. It's the largest room on the map and should be easy enough to find, just 2 corridors down. As I'm following the map in my head, my blank surroundings remind me of an old stuffy apartment building I used to live in when I was first married. I knew I had dozens of neighbors, but every door was always bolted shut, and I never saw a soul. I come to a set of double doors and wrench them open, surprised at how heavy they are, and step into a large high-vaulted room, with a huge chandelier hanging low from the ceiling's center. I love this new open space. Rows and rows of hard chairs are facing the wall opposite me, divided by a long walkway straight down the middle, where a bright red carpet is rolled out over the length of it. There at the other side of the room is a high dais, where a podium with a microphone sits, and 2 large American flags standing tall on either side of it. Several chairs form a line behind the podium facing me, most likely for the high-commissioned officers. I see no one else in the room, and it just feels eerie to me. But then I spot a group of soldiers entering the door at the far side. One man is a good 4 inches taller than the rest. I glance at my watch. 15 minutes until reporting time. I smile as I remember that along with my new medic certificate, I am also being promoted to a private first class. I assume the Brigadier General will be pinning my new insignia on me today, recognizing my promotion and arrival, as the tradition holds. I reach into my right pocket for my newly acquired insignia badge, but find nothing. What? Maybe the other pocket. Not there either. I pat my back pockets, coming up empty. I know I had it earlier. I distinctly remember putting it in my right pocket. Groaning internally, I recall back to this morning when I debated on whether or not to pin my insignia over my heart as it should be, but decided not to until I was officially presented with it today. Where did it go? Could it have fallen out in the chopper? No. I remember checking for it after we landed. Something is wrong here. Really wrong. I can't just report without it, my first report. What would I say? Pardon me, General. I just know it's here somewhere. What a bad first impression. They'll all think I'm a flake, just like the last medic. I searched the group of soldiers for a familiar face. Just an instinct, really. I obviously don't know anyone here. But then I recognized the Lieutenant Colonel, whose stature I am sure I could pick out anywhere. He's speaking with the soldiers closely, possibly giving them instructions. Resisting the urge to run, I walk as quickly as I can towards the small group. What am I doing? The Colonel can't help me. "Excuse me, Colonel," I call from a few strides away. The other soldiers look up at me and immediately salute their superior and disperse. "You haven't seen a missing Private First Class Insignia badge, have you?" I ask when I reach him. "No, I haven't," he says with a puzzled face. "Is this missing insignia yours?" "Yes." "Did you let anyone else touch it?" "No, sir, And then it occurs to me, there has to be a reason Mr. Slimeball bumped me in the shoulder. I know I had it when I entered the mess hall. He had to have taken it. Why would he do that?" "Yes," the Colonel prods. "Sir, I do believe someone has taken my insignia badge." "And who is that?" he asks with skepticism. "I don't know his name, but he arrived with me on the same plane today, and he bumped shoulders with me at lunch. I think he took it then." Oh, how loony I must sound. The Colonel takes a deep breath. "Private Andrews, why don't you just go back to your own quarters and look for it? Let's not waste any time talking about the matter." Such a man. "But I know it isn't there, sir." "Private Andrews," he repeats firmly, "I am ordering you to go look for your insignia badge in your room. What else would you like me to say?" "Right. We can waste time talking about it, or I can waste time looking for it in a place where I know it can't be. I guess I'll choose the latter since I've been ordered to do so." I give the Colonel a stiff salute and spin around to head back toward the double doors. Suddenly a voice in my memory hits me. "How about in your room?" Mr. Slimeball had said. The Colonel is right. My insignia badge is in my room, and Mr. Evil is waiting there for me. My stomach twists into stiff knots. This is not good. Something is really wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. I whirl around and walk briskly back to the Colonel. He looks up from his clipboard at my approach, his expression wary. "Colonel, would you escort me to my private quarters, please? I am sure the man who I believe took my insignia is waiting there for me and—" But the Colonel exhales impatiently, cutting me off. "Private Andrews, what are you talking about? You need to report here in the meeting hall at 1300 hours with your insignia badge. I don't care how you get it, but you need to do it on your own." I take a deep breath. I have to convince him. "I understand your frustration and skepticism, sir, but if you knew of the first encounter I had with this man, you would believe me. I know he took my insignia, and I know he is waiting for me to be alone with him. He doesn't want my title, sir. He wants something else." The Colonel looks at me like he is taking me seriously for the very first time. He peers straight into my eyes as if to pull the truth right out of them. I'm struck again how distinctive his facial features are. I can see the reflection of the large chandelier in his eyes, bringing out the gold from the brown. The Colonel opens his mouth to speak, but quickly closes it again. "Please, sir. Please escort me to my room. We are wasting time, as you said." Am I begging? How pitiful. The Colonel's eyes soften. "I'm sure you will be fine, Private Andrews," he says slowly, still staring at me with that pulling gaze. "Now go take care of what you need to so you can report back here promptly." I bite my lip and nod, forgetting to salute entirely. I don't know what carries me out the door, but somehow I get my feet to take me down the corridors and up the stairs to my room. Doom, rather. What am I doing walking into this death trap? There has to be someone else who will help me. I scan the hallway quickly. A small group of soldiers, 2 guys and a girl, are chatting noisily at the other end. "Hey guys!" I call, jogging toward them. They look in my direction but say nothing as I approach. Hey, can you guys do me a favor? Do you mind coming to my room with me really quick? I just need to make sure there's not a creepy man in there. A stocky soldier spoke up. Are you talking about the guy in the cafeteria that was... He trails off. Yeah, that's the one, I say with a stiff smile. Sure thing, everybody hates him. The others agree and we all walk together to my room. The door is locked, that's a good sign. But then again, I'm sure everyone in this building knows how to pick a lock. I hover my hand over my pepper spray as I creak the door open just a crack. I blink at the sudden brightness pouring in from my window. All four of us pile into the room. The others look under the beds and behind the dressers. The girl even looks inside some cupboards. I check to see if anything is out of place. My solitary suitcase is still sitting upright with my bag of toiletries on top. Everything else appears to be the same as I left it. I open my top drawer and peek under my pants where I had stashed my knife. It's still there. But where is my insignia? Well, it looks like you're good, says the stocky one. Yeah, it does. Hey, thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. No problem, anytime. You can't be too careful these days. They all wave and exit the room, shutting the door behind them. I rummage through my dresser drawers more aggressively now. Where is that thing? Then I hear the bathroom door click open. My muscles turn rigid. Oh no, please no. Why did I not think to look in the bathroom? Slowly, I rotate to face my intruder. And lo and behold, there stands that wicked man. Mr. Slimeball, Mr. Evil, Mr. Scum of the Earth. He stands in place with a lecherous smile spread across his face. And to my utter horror, I see he is wearing my pink bathrobe. From the looks of his bare, hairy chest, I'm fairly certain that is all he has on. The creepiness of this causes me to shiver in disgust. Looking for this? He asks, waving my insignia next to his forehead. I want to say something witty like, sorry, no animals allowed in here, but it clips off in my throat. Mr. Evil chuckles darkly. He inches toward me. I reach in my drawer and grasp my knife. How about that talk, honey? I don't think I want to leave until we get to know each other. In one swift movement, I hurl my knife at his face. Direct hit! But it falls to the floor. I use his distraction to bolt past him to the door, but he catches my wrist. Let go of me, you dog! He lets out a high, shrill laugh, but stops short as the door crashes open. The lieutenant colonel is standing in the doorway, his brown eyes ablaze. Before I register much more, Slimeball is yelling in pain. I realize my wrist is free and I spin around to see the colonel twisting Slimeball's arm when I hear a pop and a snap. Slimeball screams. The colonel glances at me. Did you find your insignia, Private Andrews? Yes, sir, I say, scanning the floor to see where Mr. Evil had dropped it. Well, you'd better get it and go report for duty. You have about 30 seconds, says the colonel, giving Slimeball another yank. I dash to pick my insignia off the floor, leaving Mr. Evil to his screams and horrid shame. With sheer desperation to be on time, I sprint into the meeting hall and find a middle-aged officer, whom I assume is Brigadier General Granger, already speaking at the podium. My heart pounds inside my chest so hard I feel it might burst right out of me. Completely out of breath, I glance around at the other 50 or so men and women standing in front of their chairs. I have no idea where I should be, so I sneak to the far end of the line closest to me. That is, I try to be sneaky. Private Andrews, the general calls. Blast, how does he know my name? Yes, sir, I call back. How is it that you cannot report for duty on time? It won't happen again, sir. My breathing is heavy and my pulse rings in my ears. I'm suddenly aware of my shaking hands. The soldier beside me peers down in my direction out of the corner of his eye. You bet it won't! The general is shouting again. What was the cause of your delay? He clearly wants to make a spectacle of me. I swallow hard as I frantically try to put the last 15 minutes into concise, vague words. Never mind, we are wasting time. You will report to me immediately after this meeting. Is that clear? Yes, General. And with that, the General continues his discourse. I close my eyes and inhale deeply. The General speaks of nothing but logistics, the wheres and the hows. I try to concentrate on every word that is said, but all I can think of is that heinous face of Mr. Evil. I grip my hands together, hoping my adrenaline will slow. First, Sergeant Johnson, come forward, please, orders General Granger in his authoritative voice. A wiry man with a stern jaw marches up to the podium and stands next to the General. He gives a short speech of the man's accomplishments, and we all salute the new Sergeant Major as the General pins on his insignia badge. One by one, soldiers and officers of all ranks are called up to the front to have their new promotions made official. I wait for my name to be called, but it never is. My pounding heart now feels very heavy. At last the meeting is over. Everyone files out of the room in perfect lines as if the transition had been rehearsed. Reluctantly, I make my way to General Granger for my immediate report, ready to be scolded, but also ready for my defense. How I hope Mr. Evil gets suspended, or demoted, even better. The General scowls at me with his wrinkly face. I try to stand straight and erect like he is, but his commanding aura leaves me feeling 2 feet tall. I assume you are wondering why I did not pin your new insignia on you today, says the General. I open my mouth to answer, but he rushes on. Well, we will not pin such an honorable insignia on anyone until they prove themselves worthy of it. Now, I don't want to hear why you were late today. You, Private Andrews, are supposed to be able to perform under the most dire of circumstances, and yet you cannot report on time to your first duty? You weren't helping someone who was dying, nor were you dying yourself. Those are the only 2 reasons for lack of punctuality. But you already know this. You already know what your duties are here, Private. Now see to them. And without giving me a single opportunity to speak, that proud man marches his way out of the meeting hall with his shoulders erect and head held high. I let out a heavy sigh. When all my duties are done today, I will speak to the Brigadier General about Mr. Evil. I will not let this ruin his impression of me. And that concludes Chapter 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back next week for Chapter 4, which is called Where Is She?
If you want to find out more about Brenda's books, you can visit brendasbooks.net. Until next time, take care.